Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Hey, welcome to the podcast, guys. We certainly appreciate you guys tuning in. Be sure to go to our channel, youtube.com/Chris Voss. Hit that bell notification and like button so you can get all the wonderful things that are going on there. Go to thecvpn.com, or you can also go to Chris Voss Podcast Network. That's what CVPN.com stands for, Chris. Yeah, it's like two different websites that go to the same place. Who knew? It's technology and digital, whatever. So anyway, you can go there. You can subscribe to all the different podcasts we do and see all the different wonderful things. As always, we have the best guests on the Chris Voss Show, only the best guests. And today we have the most extraordinary guest. You probably heard of him. He's been all over the world. He's been an incredible speaker, author, and everything else for a long time. I've known him for a long time. And his name is Ted Rubin. Ted is a leading social marketing strategist. He's the Photofly CMO. He's an author, speaker, provocateur. Ted was the chief social marketing officer of Collective Bias, an early entrant to the content and influencer marketing space, and a principal shareholder until November 2016 when he sold out with a seven-figure acquisition. He has the book Return on Relationship, a multitude of books actually. Another one, How to Look People in the Eye Digitally, and The Age of Influence, Selling to the Digitally Connected Customer. And he's working on his latest book with his business partner and retail thought leader, John Andrews, titled Retail Relevancy. He talks a lot about return on relationship. Welcome to the show, Ted. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, Chris. That was a mouthful. I actually didn't expect you to get through all of it so efficiently.
Dude, I've been researching to have you on the show, and it's like I could spend days just trying to, all the stuff you've done and like books and different things you've been involved in. I watched a lot of your speaking videos, and you've got some amazing stuff. Where can people find you on the interwebs so people can check you out as we're going through this?
Well, it's easy. Just Google Ted Rubin, TEDRUBIN. About the first 14 pages is all my stuff. I'm Ted Rubin on every social network. YouTube is the only different one, Ted Rubin USA. And easy enough to find, but I got to tell you, you said about all those things I've done, recognize the fact that I'm 62 years old. So it's really more about age than it is about accomplishment.
So how does that work with the age? Did you like, how does that work with the age? Like, so is the age the key or is the accomplishment the key?
Well, I think with age comes accomplishment. I mean, hopefully, or at least a multitude of different efforts. So whichever way you want to look at it, some people look at it as accomplishment, some people look at it as experience. I certainly have a boatload of experience, good and bad.
And I love your energy, Ted. You have so much energy. Like you just have this abounding energy. Like I think I'm basically 10 years younger than you. And and hanging out with you is really motivating me right now. And watching your videos, you really have a lot of energy. You motivate people. But the rest of the time, I'm just pretty much asleep when I'm not hanging out with you. Fun fact for our listeners, he and I were both on the Forbes top 50 list. You were number 13 one year, and I was 23. I was right below Chris Brogan. And our friend, was it Hayden Shaughnessy? I'm dyslexic in my brain, I guess, when I speak. So we shared the same Forbes list at one time.
We did. I mean, that might even be part of how we got to know each other. I think we connected back in 2013. What I really can't believe is that 2013 was 7 freaking years ago.
Dude, it went fast, man. It went fast, crazy. So you're working on some new books. I saw a lot of your speaking on return on relationship. For someone who's never heard of you, and it's hard to imagine that no one would have, but there's always the newer, younger audience. Tell us some more about you. Who is Ted Rubin? What is the hip hop about you, man?
Oh, the hip hop about me. Well,
I was trying to be young.
I pride myself on telling it like it is. A lot of people don't realize, because my blog is tedrubin.com, that it has a name. It's called Straight Talk. So I've got kind of a reputation for speaking my mind. I try to do it professionally as much as I can. I'm also about being good to people. which is something that I mean, I've always tried to be good to people, but kind of the whole concept and the hats and the gear that I wear, which remind me and others around me, have been a part of what I've been doing probably since about 2009, 2010. Just to give you a little of the most recent, like digital kind of time, because again, I'm 62 and you don't want to go back into my whole career. But in 1997, I discovered the internet. And I was fortunate while doing that, deciding that I wanted to get into that space, moved back to New York from Florida, where I had moved after a career in finance for a while. I read an interview with Seth Godin, and it was before everyone knew who Seth Godin was. It's when he had just founded Yo-Yodyne, or shortly thereafter. His claim to fame before that was mostly just in the marketing community. He was a wonderkind at Atari as a brand manager. And the only books he had written were self-help books with Jay Levinson. It was before his first bestseller in the marketing space, Permission Marketing. And everything he was talking about intrigued me, about how to deal with the customer, how ideas move around, the idea of permission marketing before he started calling it permission marketing. But what was really got my attention was at the end of the article, the interviewer said, "Wow, this sounds like a really cool company." He called it the first online direct marketing company.
Oh, wow.
Do you have any job openings? And his answer was, "I don't have any specific openings, but the way I build my company is I'll always hire smart people, and I need to find people that can sell anything because we're selling something that no one's ever sold before." And I raised my hand. I actually typed out on a typewriter my cover letter, stuck it into an envelope. Most of your audience might not know what a stamp is. It's this
stamp
thing from the U.S. government that you attach to an envelope, and you can actually put it in this box. And these guys kind of drive it or fly it all over the country, and then actually get out of their cars and walk it to your
Did you lick the envelope, the back of the envelope, to seal it? You get that nice minty.
I actually not only licked the envelope, but back then I think I licked the stamp.
That's right. You had to lick the stamp back then. Shit, wow, I'm forgetting a lot of stuff here. And
my cover letter basically said, "I'm smart and I can sell anything. You need to hire me." And
there you go.
My wife at the time, who was my ex-wife, now and for many years, looked at me like I was nuts and actually got angry at me. "Why are you wasting your time?" And a stamp,
a whole stamp.
On someone that doesn't have a job opening.
I think it was like 23 cents back then.
Something like that. It was a lot of money to us,
Maybe that could be like a new book for you. The success is just licking the stamp.
No, success is just a lick away.
Actually, that's my profile motto on Pornhub. I don't know what that means.
I mean, the truth is, he called. I ended up moving back to New York, going to work for Seth. And when I first got there, my family was still in Florida. I made the critical mistake. Don't anybody ever do this. If you've done it before, you'll know what I'm talking about. My family was still in Florida, so when I went back to New York, I moved in with my in-laws for a few months. I mean, especially if your in-laws are like the Costanzas, just do not do it. But, everything happens for a reason. So it got me out of I'm not an early riser, but it got me out of the house every morning at 5:30 a.m. before anybody woke up, so the screaming hadn't started. And it turns out, who else is an early riser and gets to the office before anybody else? Seth.
That's good.
So I spent a few months every morning with one-on-one time with Seth. I was sitting there when he wrote the article, Permission Marketing for Fast Company, that ended up becoming his best-selling book. So it just gave me some insight into a new world that was evolving that he was kind of at the forefront of. And I've always been a relationship guy and a networking guy, but it's where really the concept of return on relationship kind of really first took hold, because he didn't call it that. But Seth was the guy that would send us out on meetings and not want us to come back with an order after the first meeting, because he felt like if we did, that we didn't properly explain what we were doing and we didn't learn enough from the customer. So it was a great way to break into the digital world.
That's a great way to approach that. I really like that. I used to teach my salespeople the most important question I wanted them to ask was, what are you trying to accomplish? And to shut up and listen.
Right.
And 9 times out of 10, I mean, anytime they didn't ask that question, we'd have a customer that when they got to closing, they'd be pissed off. And they're like, "This is what I told the loan officer." And the loan officer just kind of rammed down what I wanted.
Right.
And it's I think I talked about the other day, it's real important for to qualify your customer, to listen to your customer, find out what they really are trying to achieve. And if you can help them do that, that makes all the difference in the world. I like that approach where they didn't want you to write an order too quickly, because I've had clients that have written orders too quickly with me, and later they're like, well, this isn't what I wanted. And I'm like, well, you ran around it through. You didn't, obviously I didn't collect enough data from you. So that makes complete sense to me as a salesman.
Especially in a market where we were selling something that people hadn't bought before. I mean, when a few months after joining Yo-Yo9, I built a whole separate sales team to sell a product that no one else had sold before. We were selling click-throughs back in 1997 when no one knew what a click-through was. They were selling CPM. Now,
What's
Chris,
the internet?
we would do a presentation to an agency. I mean, even a digital agency back then, I don't know if you remember Modem Media, but it was one of the first digital agencies. And after explaining that someone clicks and you pay for that and they land wherever you send them, they'd ask, what's the CPM? And I'd say, dude, you can reverse engineer back into the CPM. It's just math.
Yeah.
I said, that's not what it's about. You will only pay for a visitor. It was totally new thinking. So it was a great place to be at that time. I had a lot of sales training, but it taught me about, I was always selling things that basically people knew what I was selling them. Whether or not they liked it or not might have been a different question. And now I was and by the way, as we all know, since then, so many things have evolved. I mean, Collective Bias was a new product that no one knew what the hell it was until we spent the time and the patience and the listening to be able to explain it to them in a way they would understand. And now I'm back doing the same thing with Photofly. So I have to say it was a very important, critical moment in my career.
So now you're the CMO for Photofly, and I think I'm seeing those posts on your Facebook channel, right?
Well, what you've seen is Photofly is a photo and video app that allows overlays of brands and of branded content, of taglines, of all different types of things on your photos. And what I do mostly when I'm promoting something is instead of talking about it and writing, oh, use Photofly, I use it myself.
Yeah.
And I like to say, you know, my dad, I grew up with a dad who always said, you probably heard this expression coming from the same generation, do like I say, not like I do. And I've always said to my daughters, you know, do like I do. Like I've become, in the way I lead and the way I market is I do things and people notice them and say, what's that? And what are you doing? Or people will say, how do I best communicate with people on a certain platform? I'll go, well, like, I don't know if I have the best way, but I certainly have a way that's working for me. Why don't you watch what I do and see if you can do it? And I have a guy who I call my little brother. He grew up next door to me. He's now like my younger brother. And he was not having a lot of success with social. And then a couple of years ago, he started like just watching what I'm doing, and it's worked for him. So what I do with Photofly is I use the tool. I overlay a lot of videos with it. I put it on my photos. I share it using other companies' brands. Remax is a big customer of ours, so I'll publish some content using their imagery because I just want to demonstrate how easy it is to use and what it just real basic, and we can move on to something else. What's beautiful about Photofly is it helps companies scale content creation, which they all have a challenge with, by empowering their employees to create content. And just like a Collective Bias, where we were trying to break through brands being afraid to let anybody but their agency create content, and at Collective Bias, we used a community of bloggers. Now we're empowering companies to get their frontline employees who probably know their customers best to be able to share content, and for them to have, the word control is a bad word, but to have a little more influence over it, to make sure they're using the right colors, the right imagery, the right fonts, the right taglines, that they're spelling things right, and to give them the ability to track it to a certain degree.
And where can people find Photofly? Is it photofly.com?
You can go to photofly.com if you want to just see some of the stuff about the company in general, or you can just go to the App Store and look at Photofly app, PHOTOFY APP.
Awesome sauce. So be good to yourself. I've seen that, or not be good to yourself. Be good to others.
Be good to yourself. People,
that's my saying.
But I am a people, and I always tell people that part of no let up and be good to people is being good to yourself. Because if you're not good to yourself, it's going to be hard to be good to others.
That's true. So I seen the hashtag, and so what does that mean? Like, what does that really mean to you, and what should people gather from that?
Well, what it means to me is that it's just not that hard to be good to people, and what I'm trying to convey is not just that it's nice to be good to people, but that it will make your life better.
That's true.
The way people react to you. So, just quick story. I went through a really bad fight to keep my daughters in my life. I was really angry when it ended. I had spent 7 figures. I was 300 grand in debt back in 2010. And for another podcast, I'll tell you the story of the business I almost started, but good friends allowed me to do it for therapy, to do the beginnings of it, but were there to stop me when it might have gone too far. But what happened was I woke up one morning when this whole thing was going on, and I said, I don't want to be angry anymore. And I started a Twitter handle, Just Be Nice. And, Just Be Nice was taken, so it's just _ the letter B _ nice. And I started using it as a part of my brand, and I started using the hashtag Just Be Nice, and I started tweeting from it and talking about it. And like what happens with me a lot, as you know, you might remember, I wear funky socks and I post them, and I have a hashtag Ted Stocky. But everybody wanted me to make a sock brand, and then everyone wanted me to sell Just Be Nice t-shirts. And my personal thing, and I'm not putting this on other people, is that I feel if I'm selling something, it takes away from the authenticity. So if I'm wearing Be Good to People, Just Be Nice t-shirts, or I'm wearing socks and saying, hey, look at my funky socks, and go to tedsock.com and buy them, then it's more of a promotional marketing thing rather than something that's really part of who I am. Now, the socks is really part of who I am. The hashtag came because people started taking pictures of them, and it just kind of evolved into something which we could talk about letting things happen around you and then embracing them instead of maybe a brainstorming session where you try to come up with something that's your brand, which might not really be you. And the same thing happened with Just Be Nice. Everyone kept saying, you should make t-shirts. I'm like, yeah, but then when I'm on stage talking about it, everyone's going to think about that. So I was on stage at a women's event, and this topic came up. And when the presentation ended, this woman walked up to me and said, we've got to meet. You're going to love what I'm doing. Because I said, I'd rather support other people's things and embrace them than it to be mine that I'm selling. And she brings me over this table, and she has all these Be Good to People stickers and booklets and, a whole bunch of different premium type of goods. And she goes, my husband and I started this. We were in the premium business. I decided that people just aren't treating each other well. And now we've rolled it out into a whole separate business. And at the time, it was just stickers and pencils and some cups. And she said, I would be honored if you would take a bunch of these stickers and, maybe if you don't want to do your thing. And I just I still have the Twitter handle, but I just adopted Be Good to People. And I have the sticker on it's on my, I have it on my phone. I have it on my laptop. Every time I'm on my laptop. And what I started finding is that people would walk by my laptop and stop and say, I love your sticker. Or, wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Or, oh my God, that makes me feel good. And then she made t-shirts. I had them on the plane, and a flight attendant every once in a while would walk by, and people would walk by me and they say something. I started wearing the t-shirts, and I have to tell you, from my heart and my experience, this has changed my travel life.
Wow.
I get treated exponentially better.
So maybe I can get in first class and upgrade.
I don't know if it goes that far, but I will tell you that the TSA guys say hello to me.
Oh, do they?
They know me in Fort Lauderdale. Oh, the Be Good to People guy. I walk into the Delta lounges. They call me the Be Good to People guy.
That's awesome.
I carry stickers with me. I have these t-shirts, and I have the hats, and I have pullovers. But at one time, she didn't have the hats yet, and she didn't have the pullovers. She just had the shirts. And I wrote to her and said, listen, sometimes when I fly, I'm coming from an event. I'm wearing a suit, or I'm wearing a jacket and a shirt. I don't have my Be Good to People. Can you make me some buttons? So
That's
she
awesome.
made me buttons, which she sells now. And so I don't travel without a piece of paraphernalia. And flight attendants, look at me. Not once do I walk on a plane with them saying, I really like that. They come over to me 2 seconds later. Anything I can do for you? Can I help you with
That's
anything?
awesome. That's awesome.
And then I tend to sit up front, so a lot of people pass me. And ask John Andrews about this because it always amazed him. At least 5 to 10 people stop me on their way passing by going, I really like that. Wow, I love your hat. I love your shirt. And I carry stickers with me now and buttons, and I give them out.
It's a great way to pay it forward and remind people that we're all human beings and we all should be good to each other. I always tell people we're on this little ship going through space, and it's an island unto itself, really. And we all need to be nicer to each other. On the other hand,
one other thing is that I say to people, it's just not that hard.
Yeah.
And it really makes you nicer. Because look, I'm a New Yorker. I can have an edge to me. Guy starts clipping his toenails on the plane. I'm ready to tell him, dude. But what I do now is I know I'm wearing this thing, and instead of being nasty, I'll go, hey, how are you?
Keeps you in your truth.
You know, or like the person that opens up their laptop and starts watching a movie without headphones. You know, and everybody's freaking out. I just take an extra pair of headphones. I always carry those free ones in my bag. And they go, oh, you must have forgotten your headphones here. And everybody's going, oh, my God, thank you. You know, but the guy can't really get mad at you because you didn't say, dick, turn off the goddamn volume.
I think I've had plenty of times in my life. You may have seen some of my posts where I ranted, and where I've approached things wrong, and I probably should have, you know, took the nicer trend and not stirred it up. But you know, one of my problems when I go through TSA, I wear a shirt that says "I like being touched by strangers." Have at it.
Oh, when I travel internationally, I wear a T-shirt that says, in 10 different languages, "I'm sorry for our president."
Oh, do you really?
And that gets kudos in every country around the world.
That's probably a good way to survive as an American these days in the world. I think one of my friends, shortly after our president, that's pushing it. Our president, quote, our president. I think one of my friends was in London. It was shortly after he'd been there and caused a stir, and some hooligans came up and asked if they're American, and then poured beer on his wife's head.
You're talking about Brian Kramer.
Yeah, I'm talking about Brian Kramer, and they beat him quite badly, actually. And there was some of my British friends said those are just the hooligans the way they are, but I'm like, it seems too weird. They asked him if he was American, and then Trump had just been there. So there's that. I guess now that we brought up politics, we might as well go into something that I think is funny and interesting. On Facebook, your name is Ted Rubin. Ted Rubin. And so I think it's really brave of you, and speaking your truth and being honest, and of course championing decency and stuff, which is what your hat's about and your slogan. It's interesting to me because a lot of my speaker friends, a lot of my author friends have just run away from doing anything in politics because they worry it'll do it. In fact, a lot, you know, I think we talked about before the show, a lot of them, you know, approached me in 2015 and said, you know, you're going to lose money, you know, banging the table over Donald Trump. And I was like, I don't care. I'm sending up the warning flares. I'm screaming. What's funny is a lot of my friends who approached me in 2015 and said, you know, you're screaming way too much about Trump, and you're yelling too much about, you know, the sky is falling and all this shit. And now some of those people are some of the village criers like me and you that are on, you know, that are sounding the battle cry and trying to warn people that it can get worse.
Right.
And it seems to be. But you know,
so first of all, I've always been about speaking my mind.
Yeah.
You know, I've fortunately been mentored well and taught well, and have enough of my own attitude that I try to keep it as professional as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some people might beg to differ about some of the things I say, but if you notice the engagement on my site, as long as someone doesn't get incredibly rude, which if they do, I just delete their comments. I don't fight back with them. And I want to hear other people's opinions. So I'm okay with that as long as it doesn't get out of hand. And I get very active in providing guardrails. But my blog, although it's tedrubin.to, is called Straight Talk. So it's always been part of my brand. Every company I've ever worked for, they know right up front, don't hire me if you're not going to want to hear what I have to say. You know, about your product, about your business. I mean, granted, they might say, and if they say to me, can you, like, I don't bring politics into the boardroom or into their meetings. But if they come to me and say, hey, look what you're posting, we're not happy about that. I'm like, well, that's who you hired. Like, now, let's understand something. I'm also at a point in my life where I can afford to do that.
Yeah.
So now I've always done it to a certain degree, but there were times in my life where I couldn't afford to lose a job, or I couldn't afford to do something. And when someone says to me, listen, my company really frowns upon that, I would never pressure them to do anything different. I understand that. What bothers me is the people that can certainly afford it, that have a strong enough brand to overcome it. It hasn't affected my business whatsoever. As a matter of fact, and that might be because it's on brand, because if I don't speak my mind about that, how can I be expected to speak my mind about anything else? But the story behind my name. So first of all, my Facebook, if you look it up, is facebook.com/Ted Rubin. But you know, you can change your name around. By the way, I think you can only do it every 60 days. But what happened was, a few years ago, there was a glitch in Android devices. And when you tagged somebody, it would double your last name.
Oh, yeah.
A woman by the name of Vicky Fitch was commenting and engaging with me. And every time she did it, it came up as Ted Rubin.
Mm-hmm.
And I started laughing, and I just responded. And then I started responding, signed Ted Rubin. And she's like, she thought I was making fun of her. And she's like, I'm so sorry. I keep trying to fix it. It won't happen. I'm like, no, I love it. She goes, no, you don't. I said, no, I am going to change my name to Ted Rubin. So now my business partner and I, John Andrews, love to do certain things to see how people react to it.
Yeah.
What do they do? So I go on Facebook, I change my name to Ted Rubin, and I must have gotten a few thousand messages. What's going on? Is there something new? Is there something I should know about? Should I change my name? And it created such an uproar that John went and changed his name to John J. Andrews.
Wow.
And then about, 3 or 4 months later, we wanted to have a little more fun. So I changed it to Ted Rubin, because people would keep commenting like, what's the deal? When are you going to change your name again? And John changed his name. And then what happened was somebody reported John to Facebook.
Oh.
That he was going under a false name, John Andrews, and they shut his page down.
Oh.
And when he got back up, we wrote this whole thing about it because it was a joke. So he goes, when I was a kid, everyone called me John.
Mm-hmm.
Let's change my name because I can show Facebook documentation that my name was John. So he changed his name to John Andrews. I changed my name to Ted Rubin. And and again, everybody jumps in. What's going on? And as a lesson to people in your audience, if you're trying to get people, there are things you can do that are kind of fun and you can have fun with to get people engaging with you.
Yeah.
Like I'm hearing from people that I didn't hear from in a long time. And then this whole thing started with the election and Trump and I was, I'm a liberal and I really wanted Hillary Clinton to win. And I was very anti-Trump, which became worse and worse as he started doing a lot of the things he's done.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden there were people in my community that started insulting me by calling me a libtard. Like it started appearing in my feed. You're a goddamn libtard. You're this, you're a libtard. And I always tell people to embrace like what people do. And I've done it in other areas when people said that, one point someone started calling me Mr. R&R. So I started signing things, Ted, Mr. R&R Rubin, because it was an insult. Like it was trying to, so I said, I'm going to change my name to libtard. And I changed my name to Ted Libtard Rubin. And first of all, the insults completely stopped because I took ownership.
You owned it. Yeah. That's brilliant, actually, really.
By the way, I am a libtard. Like, there goes your insult. And then people loved it so much. A lot of my followers, like, I love the way, kind of towards what you're talking about. I love the way you take ownership and that you're upfront about who you are and what you're about.
Mm-hmm.
And, did I change my name like that on LinkedIn? Of course not, because that's just a different environment. But, my everybody knows my Facebook page and it's open to everybody. So it's not hidden from, whether you follow me or not, it's open to the world. And to me, it's just taking ownership of what I do. Now, I've had a few people who think that I'm making fun of the word, but it's been so limited. And once I explain to them the reason I did it, they go, "Oh, wow, that's really cool."
I think it's awesome. It totally diffuses.
I almost changed it to Ted Universal Healthcare Rubin, but I decided it just didn't have the same ring to it.
If I think coming up on the election here, you might have to change it to Ted Socialist, because we're all going to be called socialists here.
Well, being that I'm not a socialist, and as much as everybody thinks that the left wing of the Democratic Party is socialist, what they don't understand is that we have socialist part of our government. I mean, you want roads? Do you want, police force? Do you want, like, oh my God. So let's not even get into that.
Yeah.
I am not what qualifies in the definition of a socialist, but I do believe in helping people, and that the people with more should help the people with less. And,
I don't know when we became a country.
Yeah. What?
I don't know when we became a country that we used to think we were rich and we could take care of the poor. Right. President Johnson enacted a lot of poor assistance programs, and what's crazy now is just all the different benefits we give the big corporations and stuff. I mean, I was reading something, and I haven't been able to validate this, but there's a meme going around saying that $4,000 of your taxes every year are going to help socialize welfare for big corporations and rich guys. There's like 9 guys on the planet who own more wealth than, I think, like half the planet or some shit like that.
Something like that.
So, and I think you've seen the same graphs and data we have that there's been this slow reduction of taxes being paid by ultra rich people. And it's just crazy to me, some of the stuff I've seen. The big corporations like Apple that park their corporations in Ireland for tax haven purposes and don't pay any.
I'm not a Bernie supporter by any means. Yeah. Although if he gets the nomination, of course I'll support him wholeheartedly. But like I said, I just don't understand people that don't want to help people without. And someone recently that I know posted something. I don't remember the exact words. I posted on my Facebook page, but it was just so beyond the imagination that someone could think that everybody has the same opportunities. And it was basically saying that if you say that you don't have any opportunities in America today, then you're just not trying. I mean, go into these communities, go into the middle America, go into Appalachia, go into the Black community in certain areas. And I can't tell you I'm an expert, but I'm certainly smart enough and have enough open eyes to see that it is not the same opportunity. And yes, there is that guy that can raise himself out of it. There is that opportunity here, no doubt. But we need to make it available to more people. The fact that everybody doesn't have high-speed Wi-Fi in this country with the kind of dollars being made by these major companies and the richest people is just, to me, just unacceptable.
Yeah, and we claim to be the greatest, richest country in the world, and yet we can't afford to fix this.
Or that everybody, look, I don't believe in Medicare for all. I believe in Medicare for all for those who can't afford another plan. Yeah. Like, I want to be able to keep my plan, or a lot of people do, but why doesn't everybody in this country have some kind of coverage?
Yeah.
In this country, it's just, and the people that say no, they have to work harder, or they're bums, or they're lazy. We are not a welfare society by any means.
Yeah, I mean, and there are people that have tragedies happen that are crazy, and then our insurance is so fucked up. I mean, I had a friend who she lives in Australia, so she doesn't have quite the same problems we do. But she's traveled the world, healthy, wonderful person. She went to for promoting with her company to I think it was Jamaica or someplace, and she got bit by a fly that had the malaria virus, and it was the kind that puts you in a coma and kills you.
Right. I saw that on your page. I saw your
right. She's been a good friend of mine for 10 or 15 years. And, overnight, her whole world is turned upside down. Her finances are turned upside down. I don't know what the Australian medical insurance thing is, and I'm sure she had a great policy. But what she's going through is extraordinary. And, you just can't foresee something like that. And, we used to be this country that when people fell down, we picked them up and we helped them. I grew up in a poor family. We had to go get the government cheese, and I had to get a Pell Grant to possibly go to college. And my family was so poor. We lived on, it wasn't the welfare stuff, but it was my family was in the Mormon cult. And so they had the Mormons have their own Deseret line of welfare. And so, we'd have to get the cans and everything. And I couldn't have friends over to my house because if they saw it in the fridge or on the counter, they'd be like, "Oh, your parents are on welfare." And so I know what that's like, and it's hard to get out of. And
it's also the people that don't get this don't do the math, and it's not explained to them. Because if people don't have health insurance, it ends up becoming a part of something that we carry regardless. Yeah. Because you can't not treat someone if they show up in a hospital. I mean, to me, it needs to be required. I've got a friend who thinks he's beating the system because he doesn't have health insurance. Mm-hmm. And he talks about, like, look at all the money I've saved. I'm like, dude, one freaking rear end. Yeah, one trip and fall. And I said, and I always look at him and say, I just want to make something perfectly clear. I love you, buddy, but I am not paying that hospital bill. Like, I've helped you out with other things, but if you end up in the hospital and have a $200,000 or $50,000 or whatever crazy number it is because you were stupid enough not to have health insurance, he goes, well, I've got a friend who's a doctor. He gives me an annual physical. Medical insurance is not for your physical. It's for the catastrophic things that happen to you. And by the way, this guy had a heart attack in his 30s. He had a series of stroke in his 40s. He's had a neck operation, and he can't.
And he's still living on the edge.
Budget. He's got the money. He just thinks he's, well, now I've got a bank account. I'm like, dude, the bank account is going to cover 1 minute in the hospital.
Yeah, I mean, there was a story I read recently about some gal went in for some sort of mouth swab, the mouth swab where they check to see maybe what virus you had. and she got a bill for 25 fucking grand. And I mean, there's a lot of shit wrong with the system, but
I am a vegan. I work out every day.
Mhm.
I'm in great shape, but I had 2 hernia operations. I mean, because it was something that was unavoidable that had nothing to do with activities. It just happened, and each of those cost $50,000 plus. If I
holy
didn't,
shit. Damn, that's no fun. So, so we know a lot about you now. In fact, I just found out you're a vegan. That's very cool. I became a vegan for about, I think 6 or 8 months, and I was losing 3 to 4 pounds a day. And I went from 370-ish, 350-ish down to 280.
I thought you were going to say 6 to 8 hours.
6 to 8 hours.
I was a vegan for 6 to 8 hours. It was awesome.
It was a pretty crazy time, and yeah, I was doing I was doing veganism, and yeah, you can lose a lot of weight. You don't realize all the crap you eat. And of course, I cut sugar and pop and all the other junk out of my system that I was doing, and got some good stuff. So, well, everyone's gotten a chance to get to know Ted better if you haven't, and he's just a wonderful, accomplished author. I watched a bunch of your speaking videos; those are amazing. Your energy is just so huge during them and so motivational. Yeah, I mean, everyone should go check you out, buy the books. You can go to amzn.to. How many books do you have total again?
Well, I've written 3 books.
Mhm.
A gentleman by the name of Mitch Levy has this company that's pretty cool where he turns your books into 140 tweets.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like I have 5 because Return a Relationship and How to Look People in the Eye Digitally were made into these Twitter books. And then I'm working on my 4th real book with John Andrews, where he's going to be the lead author, called Retail Relevancy. And if we ever get it completed, you might get to read it.
Awesome sauce, man. Awesome sauce. I know how hard it is to write books. I'm trying to write one right now. And right now it's either Playboy Centerfold or it's a pop-up book. I'm not really sure, but
well, you could make it a coffee table book about coffee tables.
That's probably true. And there's nothing in it.
And then it
it's just
opens up into a coffee table.
There you go. That's a brilliant idea.
Don't you remember that from Seinfeld? Kramer wrote a coffee table book.
Just so you have a coffee table book, and if you folded it together, it's an end table as well. Right. Anything more we should know about you, Ted, before we wrap up our show? It's been wonderful to have you. We got to have you on more often, man.
This was fun. I'm happy to get on with you and chat about a topic anytime. So just reach out. This is real easy. Talking to you is fun. Would love to get involved with your audience a little bit more. So anytime you want to, if you're just bored in the morning, just give me a shout. I've got an Amazon, the video Echo next to my bed. We can just talk while I'm waking up.
It can be no, that sounds weird. Bedtime conversations with Ted. Waking up with Chris and Ted.
Oh, there you go.
And you'll have all this energy. You'll be like, "Hey, Chris, it's really wonderful," and I'll be like, "Oh my god, I just woke up."
Not when I wake up. Don't worry about it.
All right. Have you ever seen? It's Adams? Who's the guy on Periscope? Who's he used to do? I think the Far Side or something like that. And he does like a coffee with him.
Periscope exist anymore?
It does.
Really?
It's fucking crazy, dude. Like I gave up on it twice, and I came back and I went,
wow.
"You still here?"
Holy shit!
And it's I believe it's the guy who did the Far Side comics. It's Scott Adams, or he did the Hitchhiker, I think, stuff. I have to look it up, but he does a thing where every morning on Periscope he does a coffee with I think it's Scott Adams. He does a coffee.
Dedication. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and he literally has a cup and he goes, "Let's all drink from the cup." It's kind of a weird sort of Kool-Aid thing, and yeah, you never know. You need a podcast too. Do you have a podcast?
People have been saying that to me for years, and it's just another thing to do. So I just rather be on other people's podcasts.
There you go.
My business partner, John Andrews, desperately wants to start one. So we've started making some videos that we just post online or we put up on YouTube. So at some point, John and I, here's my bet. We're going to sell Photofly, and then we're going to do Ted and John from Costa Rica.
You could do Ted and John's excellent podcast.
Yeah, we could do that.
Most excellent podcast. Yeah, it is Scott Adams. I think Scott Adams wrote Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, or he did the Far Side comics. It's one of those two. So someone in the audience can correct me. So anyway, guys, we appreciate you guys tuning in, and thanks to Ted for wonderful to take his time off on his vacation day for President's Day. We don't really have a president, so I guess it's not really a holiday.
Not really. Well, no, because President's Day is really about past presidents, and we've had some.
That's true. You know, one of my favorite things to do is on Instagram, the official photographer for Obama, he posts the photos from that presidency for that day that he took that day, and he's like, "This is what Obama was doing today," and it's wonderfully cathartic.
Well, you know, I got to tell you. So just real quick before you go, as long as we're ending on that topic, there's a book I'm reading and one I'm getting ready to read. I try to dedicate myself to reading books again as much as possible. But, you know, if you come from our side of the fence or even any side of the fence, this is a fabulous book. Samantha Power was the ambassador to the UN in the Obama administration, or one of them. She also worked at his administration. She's brilliant. It's a great book about, it says the education of idealist. I like to think of it also as the education of someone with humanity.
Yeah.
Great. And it's pushed me to read a book I never wrote, because I think we're desperately in need of hope right now. And I keep telling people, a lot of people think there's no hope. And so I quickly ran out and bought
there you go.
Because I just thought it was very relevant to our time. So just a little suggestion for people in your audience if they want some.
Most definitely. It's interesting to see the correlations. Like I saw somebody on Twitter, they posted a thing, they go, if you want to show your kids the difference between presidents, they had like a 30-second blurb or a minute speech by Obama, and they had like a Trump speech. And wow, it's crazy.
What's great about Samantha Power's book is, you know, she is a big advocate for horrible things going on around in the world, for stopping mass executions and all the different things that have happened. But what's really interesting in the book is it just talks about all the different groups and organizations within the Obama administration that were geared to things that none of us are even aware of. And a lot of these things have ceased to exist in the current administration. They think them as irrelevant or unnecessary. And it's worth the read. It's a great book. She's a remarkable woman. So that's all.
We come from the same sort of past, Ted. Like my I think I can say, I don't know what you call it, the motto I try and live by in my life, and I'm not always good at it, is the song Imagine by John Lennon.
Right.
Caring about other people, being a good human being to other people, be good to others. You know, and it's such a world that, and I think a lot of it gets lost with digital too. I think I don't know who I was listening to your speech, I think. I think, and we were talking about the loss of the interpersonal relationship where people are really into their phones. That, or maybe it was Bill Maher. It might have been the Bill Maher show. I watched a lot of videos.
Bill Maher, we're kind of like right with each other.
Yeah, but they were talking about how with these mobile phones, there's a real loss of the human touch, the human experience, the human love, and it's really easy for us to get nasty with each other. And
it's a post I wrote that I think it's easier to default to angry than to happy.
Yeah.
As you get older, and you have to work really hard. You have to work hard at being good.
I do.
You know, and you've got to think twice. And you've got to, like I talk about, you know, Gary Vaynerchuk talks about self-awareness. You only do what you're good at, which I don't necessarily agree with. Clearly, it's in his book. It was a question that I brought up to him. But what I talk about is self-awareness about how what you do affects others. As simply as walking through an airport and stopping short when there's 20 people behind you, or how about the people that stop at the bottom of the escalator? Like, dude, this sidewalk's moving. Like, can you just, you know, move over? Or that walk 5 abreast on their way to the gate because their flight's not leaving for 3 hours, but you're in an airport, or shoving. And look, I'm not one of the advocates of don't put your seat back, but don't shove it back into someone's face.
Yeah.
Don't slam things that wake people up. It's just a matter of thinking a little bit more. And by the way, I have to make myself do it every day, because I'll be walking and I'll think, oh, I wonder if I'm blocking someone behind me. Or if I walk on the beach, and I know I'm going to play my music and the whole beach is open, don't sit down right next to other people. Go by yourself. Just put a little bit of thought into, and be a little more self-aware about how your actions affect others.
Yeah. I think I got that one time at the beach where I just decided that I was going to make it a nudist beach, and it wasn't. I'm just kidding.
Well, I'm kind
There's
of
a
glad I
visual
wasn't. I'm kind of glad I wasn't there that day. But
Hey, that's not nice, Ted. Yeah, that's not. All right. Well, Ted, it's been wonderful having you on the show. We'll definitely. You're always welcome back, Ted. I love you. And what's been nice is I've been really getting to know you the past couple of years. Followed you on Facebook. I guess I wasn't connected to you on Facebook. I was probably following you on Twitter.
I was surprised about that. But
yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. There's just so many people. But you know, the beauty of it is I get to people develop around me like Polaroids, and I get to know them better. And I'm like, oh, there's that person, and who are they? And it's been wonderful to get to know you. And so I value you as a friend, and it's been wonderful to talk to you today. So I hope my audience goes to tedrubin.com, checks him out, checks out all his books, order him on Amazon. Plug him to do a podcast, because I'd love to hear it, because you're so motivational. You got so much energy. I need to figure out whatever you're having in the morning, whatever coffee you're having in the morning.
A lot of coffee.
That friend. No coffee?
I said a lot of coffee.
A lot of coffee. All right. Well, there you go. All right. Well, thanks, my audience, for tuning in. We certainly appreciate you guys. Refer people to the show. If you would, they can go to thecbpn.com or chrisvosspodcastnetwork.com. You can go to youtube.com/Chris Voss, and you can find me anywhere on the web pretty much under Chris Voss. chrisvoss.net. There you go. And thanks, Monty, for tuning in. We'll see you next time.